Part 24. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletinjian. Chapter 231. Director Wang just wanted to express condolences to Xietingzhou, a professional in a certain field. After all, he has achieved the position of director and has actually met a lot of capable people. Although the first time he saw a ghost, Director Wang was a little shocked, but as a public servant of the people, as a director, Director Wang believes in being tolerant. A master who deceives people just to get money from them is called a liar. However, Xietingzhou did not ask for money, and he had real talent and knowledge. Director Wang would not offend him. If any big case really happens in the future, then Comrade Xietingzhou may have to be relied upon to handle the case. After Director Wang left, Mao Kun also patted Xietingzhou on the shoulder and left. Naturally, people like Mao Kun, who did not believe in ghosts and gods, would not ask for anything from this master of metaphysics. Only Guo Ran, Long Liun and Xietingzhou were left in the small workshop. The three of them started working, sorting out files and making some records. After an hour, Guo Ran couldn't help it anymore. Tingzhou, the director just asked you to go to the Criminal Investigation Brigade. Did you really not want to go? The Criminal Investigation Brigade is the dream of many policemen. After all, if these trainee policemen are really counted, they can only be regarded as ordinary policemen, the most basic type. Young people have a disease of hoeing the strong and supporting the weak. Want to prove their abilities, so the dream of many police officers is to join the criminal investigation team and be able to solve some super big cases. Why go to the Criminal Investigation Brigade? There aren't always cases to deal with there, and I think it's pretty good here. Xietingzhou responded calmly, which made Guo Ran's expression distorted. Is this good? After he finished speaking, he pouted, and his whole person looked like he was broken. The three of us came here for internship together. What did we do from the time we entered the Public Security Bureau on Yangzhou Avenue? Oh, whose precious pet was lost, we have to look for it? Whose child was lost? I found it was hidden in the cupboard, and I went to the scene of a car accident and found that it was a porcelain. Even the best, I was called to deliver toilet paper to someone. Do you think this is appropriate? I dare to believe that I am a police officer. I feel like I am just an errand boy. This is completely different from the ups and downs life that Guo Ran imagined. All kinds of trivial matters are handled by the police. There is a saying that when people have problems, they go to the police. So in fact, the police are not sacrifices are necessary in the popular sense. What many ordinary police officers do every day are these trivial things. How many years does it take for a big case or a horrific murder case to happen, and it can't be concentrated in one place? Do you think Conan is possessed? But this is good. It proves that everyone is living a safe life. If there is no big case, no one will be harmed. In fact, after I came here, I realized that the bank robbery my father encountered was almost it's something that a police officer would never encounter in his life. Even though he deals with these weird things all day long, I still think it's quite meaningful. Long Liun also spoke. She had a very good physique. She served as a special soldier for a period, and then retired to become a policeman. When she was assigned here, her superiors took good care of her. Some policemen don't need to make meritorious deeds, they just need to have a stable life. Long Liun's father is a martyr, so the people above him naturally don't want Long Liun to engage in dangerous work. Okay, it's my fault. Contributing to the people is what I should do as a policeman. Guo Ran compromised, then heard the phone ringing, and quickly hung up after picking up. He turned to look at the two people beside him. Someone is making trouble at Huayun Bank. The bank has called the police and asked us to go over and deal with it. Let's go. The three of them are all trainee police officers and usually work together. The fact that the bank report can be delivered to them proves that it is a small case, Otherwise the old police would have gone there. Good. Long Liun quickly packed up his things, and Xieting Zhou also stood up. The three of them walked out of the police station gate and drove the police car to Huayun Bank, which was very close to Yangzhou Avenue. The police dispatch time was 10 minutes. The three of them were wearing blue short-sleeved police uniforms. Went directly to the scene. The customers in the bank seemed to have been arranged by security guards to leave. Looking through the glass, one could see a tall man. The man was smashing the table crazily. He was estimated to be 1.8 meters tall. The security guard on the side thought, "Can't stop it?" Upon seeing the police, the eyes of the security guard and Huayun Bank manager standing at the door lit up. "Comrade police, you are finally here, hurry up and take a look at the people making trouble inside." This situation looked very bad. Long Liun frowned and Guo Ran was also surprised. "What is this man doing? Why is he causing trouble in the bank?" we asked, but the three of them still looked at each other in tacit understanding, and then quietly opened the door of the bank. After walking in, the man happened to have his back to them, and Long Liun rushed forward and kicked him. He kicked the man in the back, causing him to fall to the ground. Then he directly stepped forward and suppressed the man lying on the ground. The man also had a baton that he seemed to have snatched from the security guard, but it was also snatched back by Guo Ran on the side. As soon as the man was pinned down, the security guards and bank staff felt relieved, and then the bank manager hurried over. "Comrade police, you are indeed a master of attack. You subdued the gangster so quickly." The fat manager of Huayun Bank praised Long Liun. Long Liun had already handcuffed the suppressed man. After all, no matter what the man was doing before, his current behavior has already involved the public safety law. Breaking things in a place like a bank can be a minor or serious crime. You are all beasts. Beasts. Collusion between government and business. Don't let us people live. My dad's money is in your bank. Now that he is dead, why can't he take it out? You just stole my dad's money. The man was suppressed, but he still roared with all his strength. At this moment, everyone understood the reason why the man was causing trouble. It was probably because of money, but most of the people who came to the bank to make trouble were because of money. At this moment, the door outside the bank was closed. To deal with this man's matter, after all, you have to ask about the case first and then adjust the surveillance. You can't just take the person away. This is wrong. Pulling the man up from the ground, the man's hands were behind his back and had been cuffed. Xieting Zhou looked at the man and said expressionlessly, "We are the police. We came here after receiving a report. Why are we causing trouble in the bank?" The man looked at Xieting Zhou, and after receiving such a cold look, he felt aggrieved and suddenly burst into tears. "It's because the bank didn't give the money, comrade police. I didn't mean to cause trouble. My dad died. I came back to hold his funeral. But after finishing the funeral, I found out that my dad had a bank book. I brought it over today to get it. As a result, the bank insisted on letting the person named on the passbook come to collect it, but my dad was cremated." As he talked, he felt aggrieved and began to cry, like a child who had been bullied. Although he was so big, he looked miserable. Both Long Liun and Guo Ran looked at the manager of Huayun Bank, and Xieting Zhou already understood the whole story. The fat manager was helpless when he saw it like this, and hurriedly explained, "Comrade police, this is not our bank's fault. There are regulations in this bank. Whoever opens an account must withdraw money. It's just a regulation. Our bank also operates according to the regulations. If this person doesn't arrive, what if the man is a fake and takes away the money of our bank account owner, how can we be held responsible when his family comes to find him?" There was nothing wrong with what he said, but it suddenly irritated the grown man beside him. "You fart. I came here with my father's death certificate, my family's household register, and a copy of my father's ID card. Why can't I prove my identity? My father is dead, how can I let it go? My dad is here to get money." The man collapsed. He may have been stimulated by the death of his father before. Now he came to withdraw money, but he suffered such a thing again. He choked up when he spoke. But the manager had his own opinion. "Sir, I know you are anxious, but this death certificate cannot prove your blood relationship with the deceased, and your household registration book does not have the name of the head of the household. How can you prove your relationship? Look at this, let's forget about it today. You can go to the relevant department to issue a certificate to prove that you and your father are parent-child. As long as there is a certificate from the relevant department, and then your father passes away, it also involves the issue of inheritance distribution. When the time comes, you can inherit. Some people in the estate have asked that as long as they voluntarily give up the inheritance, you can withdraw the money. This matter is very troublesome, not to mention where to get this certificate, but how can an ordinary citizen get this certificate?" Long Liun's face was ugly. As a person who didn't have a father, she understood the man's feelings and couldn't help but say, "He has a death certificate, an ID card, and a death cancellation certificate. Why can't he withdraw the money? And many elderly people don't know how to create a will, just to give it to their children. The bank should not seize the money, and this so-called certificate may not be useful when it is issued. Comrade Police, this is a rule. There is nothing I can do about it. I can't violate the rules, right?" The fat manager looked embarrassed, but the next moment he heard Xie Ting's voice. "Manager, you just said that the head of the household needs to handle the withdrawal of money, right?" The manager didn't know what he would encounter yet, so he nodded quickly. "This is the rule. The head of household's passbook must be collected by the account holder, and no one else is allowed to collect it on his behalf. However, some elderly people who really cannot collect it will authorize their children to collect it, but this situation is different. This is a large deposit certificate. If the old man passes away, there will be many problems involved, so more procedures are required." As he explained, he felt that the air conditioning inside their bank seemed to have become a little colder. Xie Ting smiled, especially tenderly. "Now that you have the manager, things will be easy to handle. The account holder of this passbook is here. I'll call him out and withdraw the money in person. I'll be able to withdraw it now, right? Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 232. The fat manager's name was Chiu Guangzong. He was stunned by the policeman's words and didn't know what he meant. Long Liun and Guo Ran showed such expressions as expected. After all, this man's father had just died, so the soul was most likely still with his son. If the son came to withdraw money, how could the father not follow him? So what Xie Ting said is true. This Huayun Bank is considered awesome. After someone died, he had to ask for some kind of proof before withdrawing money. It made a grown man cry. He just hoped that the other party wouldn't be scared to death later. Chiu Guangzong reacted briefly and forced out a smile. "Comrade Police, are you kidding me? What do you mean by asking the person involved to pick it up? This person is dead, how can we let the person involved come?" If this man hadn't said that he had been cremated, Chiu Guangzong wouldn't have been able to say that. But there is nothing wrong with the bank's regulations. The person involved must come to collect the large denomination certificate, and they are just complying with the regulations. I'm not kidding. You said you can withdraw the money as long as the account holder is in the bank. Now the account holder is here. Xie Ting said, looking at the big man with his hands cuffed on the side. The money your father deposited was all earned by you working for so many years. There are a total of 270,000 stored with your father. Originally, Your father wanted to see you get married and have children, but I saw your face and it was fate. I have already told your father about Wu Zi's appearance. He doesn't blame you. He told me that his name is Cheng Zhenchuan and you are called Cheng Xiaofeng, right? After Cheng Xiaofeng was called out his real name, he immediately collapsed. He was already crying, but now he was even more broken down. Comrade police, yes, my name is Cheng Xiaofeng, and my dad's name is Cheng Zhenchuan. I'm sorry for my dad. He cried while talking. In fact, before his father died, his last dream was for Cheng Xiaofeng to get married and have children. However, Cheng Xiaofeng, who is now 36 years old, has never had a girlfriend. Xieting Zhou saw that the other party was destined to be a man, but he didn't say much. He took out a piece of yellow talisman paper from his pocket, and then drew a talisman on it with blood. This operation not only stunned the people at Huayun Bank, but also the person involved, Cheng Xiaofeng. Following Xieting Zhou's movements, his hands moved very quickly, and he touched Cheng Xiaofeng's side, and everyone saw an old man appear in the originally empty place. That's right, it was Cheng Xiaofeng who held it, the old man in the death certificate. The old man's hair was gray, his face was the color of death, and his eyes looked extremely terrifying. The moment he appeared, the whole bank exuded a unique air conditioning, which made people feel cold. The bank clerk who was doing business nearby fainted from fright. The bank manager Chiu Guangzong did not faint, but when he saw what seemed to be a ghost walking towards him, he hid behind the security guard and was trembling. The security guard was also confused and couldn't help but look out the window. It was broad daylight outside. Why is this ghost here in broad daylight? With a pop, Cheng Xiaofeng was already kneeling on the ground. Seeing his father again after finishing his father's funeral was a very shocking thing for Cheng Xiaofeng, but he was not afraid and knelt on the ground to kowtow to his father. Dad, Xiaofeng is sorry for you, sorry for you. However, Cheng Zhenchuan did not look at his son, but walked towards the bank manager Chiu Guangzong. His voice was as cold as a cold wind blowing over him, and he instantly moved behind Chiu Guangzong. Manager Chiu, didn't you just say that the account holder must come to withdraw money? I'm here to withdraw my money. Can you do business for me? His voice was very ghostly, and it was even more terrifying when it hit someone's neck. Chiu Guangzong rolled his eyes and fainted to the ground, stunned. The security guard wasn't much better. He looked trembling and wanted to wave the electric baton in his hand, but it passed through the ghost and it was of no use at all. Hey, I'm scaring you. Look at this in broad daylight. You'd be scared to death. Guo Ran accepted it well. After all, he had already seen water ghosts. Guo Ran didn't feel afraid of such an old man who died normally. Long Liun was just silent, not knowing what he was thinking. He felt mixed emotions as he watched the man kneeling on the ground and kowtowing to the ghost. Wake people up and make arrangements to withdraw the money. Xieting Zhou did not sympathize with the bank manager. The so-called bank was to serve the people. Everyone deposited their money in the bank to better preserve their money. But these days, there are regulations, and people are dead, so how can we withdraw money? Just after hearing the bank manager's evasive words, Xieting Zhou knew that this so-called certificate was not easy to obtain. So the best way is to resolve the matter directly here. Doesn't it mean asking the person involved to come over? The person involved happens to be here, so you can just withdraw the money here. You don't have to go to the police station, which saves you from wasting police resources. Just after Xieting Zhou came in, he saw the ghost following his son. He didn't want to kill his son, but he was reluctant to leave, so he lingered beside his son and wanted to see his son solve everything before leaving. So Xieting Zhou also knew things in the bank. Otherwise, if no one spoke, how would Xieting Zhou know that the other party had a deposit of 270,000? Guo Ran went over and grabbed Chiu Guangzong, then pinched his nose and forced him to wake up. Qiu Guangzong's face was ugly. He thought he was having a dream, but when he opened his eyes, he saw the dead man again. Suddenly he wanted to faint again, but Guo Ran slapped him on the face. "Okay. I'll beat you if you faint again. Get up and do things quickly. Get the money from others, otherwise be careful they come to your house in the middle of the night to look for you. Our police won't care about it then." Patting Qiu Guangzong up, Guo Ran's words made Qiu Guangzong even more frightened. At this time, he grabbed Guo Ran's arm and said, "Comrade police, there is a ghost. Have you seen the ghost? Comrade police. The police uniform at any time makes people feel safe." This is what Qiu Guangzong thinks at this time. Unfortunately, Guo Ran has never been the kind of policeman who is easy to talk to, and he has no good impression of Qiu Guangzong. Yes, there is a ghost, I saw it. Didn't you just say that you would let people come to withdraw the money in person? They have come in person, so what are you afraid of? This person is the account holder, Chen Zhenchuan, who just showed me the bank book. Come on, just take out the money and they will leave. It's useless to hold me back. The bank owes them money, but I don't owe them money. As Guo Ran said, Qiu Guangzong was also buzzing, but he was sure that the policeman in front of him could see ghosts and continued the next moment. "Comrade police. You are the public servants of the people, you should protect us. This ghost. He wanted to catch this ghost quickly, but it made Guo Ran laugh. "I'm protecting you. Look, this ghost just asked you for money, and didn't touch you directly. This is the protection of the police, comrades. You're not going to get money from others, are you? Be careful if they come looking for you in the middle of the night." Guo Ran smiled sadly. As soon as he said this, Qiu Guangzong couldn't say anything even if he wanted to, so he hurried to arrange the procedures for the other party. This procedure is all online now. After Qiu Guangzong entered, he originally thought he could delay it as long as he could, but he didn't expect Chen Zhenchuan to directly follow him and stand next to him to watch his operation. The little bank teller girl was already unconscious. Qiu Guangzong wanted to say that he couldn't do it, but there was a chill around him. He suspected that he would be strangled to death by this ghost after he said no. So the subsequent procedures went very smoothly, and the ghost Chen Zhenchuan even signed his name in person, and then withdrew all the 270,000 yuan in the passbook. Long Liuyun helped Cheng Xiaofeng hold the money, and Guo Ran stretched out his hand to unlock Cheng Xiaofeng's handcuffs. "I'll give you the money. If you encounter something like this in the future, don't be too impulsive. If you have anything to do, go to the police. The police will help solve it." Cheng Xiaofeng took the money and was extremely grateful. "Comrade police, thank you. Thank you so much." Xie Tingzhou looked at the mess inside the bank and added, "But you also destroyed the bank's things today and gave someone a chair as compensation. There are steel chairs everywhere in this bank, but there is only one plastic chair where the security guard sits, and Cheng Xiaofeng uses it as a weapon." "Yes, comrade policeman, I will definitely compensate." Cheng Xiaofeng took the money and couldn't help but look at his father on the side. Then he looked at Xie Tingzhou. He felt that the police nowadays are not as good as their appearance. Anyway, Cheng Xiaofeng never thought that he would see his father again in his lifetime. "Comrade police, thank you." Chen Zhenchuan also came over to express his thanks. This was obviously a ghost, but it still had human thoughts. Xie Tingzhou nodded as a response, and then looked at Cheng Xiaofeng. "Your father has some final words to tell you." Then Long Liuyun and Guo Ran heard the father's final explanation. "I won't be with you anymore. You should take good care of yourself. It doesn't matter whether you get married or not. Just live happily. Dad can't protect you forever. You have to protect yourself from now on. Don't be impulsive when things happen in the future. Cheng Xiaofeng cried when he heard this. A grown man's eyes were red from crying. Even so, Xie Zhou still took back the talisman with an expressionless face. Watching his father disappear in front of him, Cheng Xiaofeng knelt down and kowtowed to Xie Zhou silently. Xie Zhou came to the glass counter and knocked inside. Inside was bank manager Qiu Guangzhong, who was still looking outside in fear. He had already seen the ghost disappearing, but he was still very scared. At this time, when he heard and saw Xie Zhou, he still managed to smile. "Comrade police, do you have anything else to explain?" His voice was trembling, but Xie Zhou showed a deliberate smile. "Manager Qiu, if there are still death parties like this that need certificates issued in the future, just call the police and we will come over and ask the parties to sign for you in person. Don't worry, we won't violate the regulations." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin. Chapter 233. This case was a simple mediation. Cheng Xiaofeng finally paid some compensation and left with his savings. What did the people from Huayun Bank dare to say? You've seen ghosts. Are you afraid that the ghosts won't come to your door? The police handled the case and drove away. The driver was Guo Ran, who reacted with hindsight. "Tingzhou, isn't it good for us to handle the case this way? It doesn't comply with the procedure. If they followed the normal procedure, they would need to take Cheng Xiaofeng to the police station. The bank might even sue Cheng Xiaofeng if they saw Cheng Xiaofeng throwing things at the bank. Is there anything abnormal? Didn't they say that? All I need to do is come in person to go through the formalities. I've arranged for them to go through the formalities in person, and it doesn't violate their rules." Xie Zhou was used to it, but Long Liuyun on the side said. "But if ordinary people can see ghosts, is it really okay?" Xie Zhou has never revealed his identity before, but now he can let everyone see the ghost, which is really mysterious. And seeing how Xie Zhou didn't intend to hide this matter in front of ordinary people, Long Liuyun always felt that something had happened. "Sooner or later you have to get used to it," Xie Zhou said such a sentence. For some reason, Guo Ran and Long Liuyun only felt creepy, but they suddenly stopped the topic, making people dare not ask any more questions. After a while, Guo Ran, the talkative person, started to sigh again. "Hey, you said it's strange these days. Once your own money is deposited in the bank, it's no longer yours. It's very difficult to withdraw money. You have to do it yourself. My mother was sick before, and you all know that the money I have in my hands is I didn't have much money, so I took my mother's bank book to withdraw money, but they refused to withdraw it. In the end, I had no choice but to ask the leader of the hospital to say hello, and then he allowed me to withdraw the money from the bank. What happened today? There's nothing I can do about it. If we don't let that person's father come, Liuyun, do you believe that this person will run away? The public security organs, as well as agencies and units in various places, do not just issue a certificate for you if you want it. Generally, when issuing a certificate, there is a big problem or there is some assistance case that needs to be handled, such as withdrawing money. This way, if you want someone to issue a certificate for you, how do you do it? Who is responsible if something goes wrong? So the agency will definitely not issue the certificate. However, banks also have their own difficulties. For example, some deceased people have many children after death. In the absence of a clear will, if someone takes the passbook to withdraw money, and finally takes out other children to make trouble, it is also a matter. I think there is nothing wrong with what the manager of Cloud Bank said, but it is actually difficult to get out the deceased's large deposit certificate. When my father died, my mother and the people from the bureau went to get it, and it went smoothly. Some words hit the mark, and the mistake may not be the rules, but sometimes it's the people, and those who take advantage of loopholes. Long Liun's mother was a family member of a martyr, so no one would embarrass her. However, ordinary people like Cheng Xiaofeng might not be able to withdraw the money even after running for a week. These are the rules and loopholes of society. He Guoran also understood the reason, sighed, and then turned to look at Xie Tingzhou next to him. Tingzhou, now I understand why you have so much ability to become such a small policeman. You want to understand the sufferings of our people. Can the life of ordinary people be the same as the life of people with power and money? Sometimes you really want not to admit that this society has privileges, but you are often restricted by them. A master like Xie Tingzhou who can make people see ghosts, to be honest, wouldn't he be successful wherever he goes? It's not like being a little policeman now, but it really makes people feel like a master in this world. Everyone is the same. They will die. Even if they become ghosts, they will be the same. Xie Tingzhou gave a clear answer, but Guoran suddenly thought of something. Tingzhou, then the rule passed down by our ancestors is that if you burn paper for the people below, can the ghost really receive the money? Just ghost coins. Guoran couldn't help but see Long Liun in the rear-view mirror. Long Liun's father was a martyr. Naturally, there was no such thing as burning paper. In the martyrs' cemetery, flowers and food were all offered, so it was impossible to burn paper. Long Liun was also stunned. They already knew that people turned into ghosts after death, and the burning of the body had no effect or consciousness. But after becoming a ghost, do they still need money? If that's the case, my father hasn't burned any paper for him all these years, right? This was popular earlier, but it is no longer popular now. There used to be a ghost market, but now the ghost market has long since collapsed. You don't even think about it? The ghosts in the past had the opportunity to reincarnate, so even if they stayed in the ghost world, they would stay a little time. I used the money to establish a relationship with the ghosts early and reincarnated. But now the ghost world is gone, the ghost market is gone, and the money is no different than waste paper. If there are no ordinary ghosts in 50 years, the chance of reincarnation will dissipate between heaven and earth and disappear completely. This is the situation in the memory of the original owner. There are many crazy things hidden in the darkness that cannot be seen by the human eye. Moreover, these darkness are spreading and growing unbridled, and one day, they will enter the light. What? Guoran also didn't expect that human beings don't have children, so people who died before have no chance to be reincarnated. Long Liun didn't know what to say for a moment. Modern young people have their own thinking. It doesn't matter whether they have children or not. Long Liun didn't even plan to get married and have children. They didn't expect it to affect so much. Seeing the surprised look of the two, Xie Tingzhou was speechless and added, "Why are you so surprised? Do you think that everyone has the opportunity to reincarnate as a human after death? It's not that fewer people have children now, but the channels for reincarnation are gone. You have no chance to reincarnate as an animal. This is the reason. If only humans can give birth, then ghosts will have no place to arrange. In fact, at least 80% of ghosts will not reincarnate as humans in the end. The two ordinary humans don't understand these." Long Liun wanted to ask about his father several times, but in the end he kept his mouth shut and didn't ask. The three returned to the police station. This time, another ghost's wish was solved, so Xie Tingzhou got another 100 ghost-seeing talismans from the system. This ghost-seeing spell actually has its own effect. You just need to stain it with blood, draw the shape of the spell, and then stick it on the ghost. The important thing is not the spell, but the ability to see ghosts. Later, when Mao Kun learned about this incident, he was also in tears and laughter. Fortunately, the people from Huayun Bank did not complain, otherwise these three little guys would be in trouble. But when I think about it, I saw a ghost directly at the workplace. If you are not afraid of people coming to the door in the middle of the night, who dares to complain casually? The days in the police station are still very peaceful. Guo Ran was sent out for several tasks. Twice, he delivered toilet paper to people. Once, the door at home could not be opened and he was reluctant to call a locksmith. Guo Ran went over and broke the door directly, which made the other party helpless. But these were also said in advance. Whether it is a policeman or a firefighter, their work is free, but it is destructive. If you accidentally forget the key at home, it is better to find a locksmith to open the lock. Otherwise, if you find these two, you will lose a door in the end. 2 weeks passed peacefully. This time, Guo Ran, Long Liun and Xieting Zhou were on night shift. Newcomers usually don't have to work night shifts, but the three of them performed well. They have handled everything well since they took up their posts, so the three of them stayed in the police station to keep watch. My mother made dumplings. She said it's better to eat something at night to have energy. Long Liun brought the dumplings over. Guo Ran ate them without hesitation. Xieting Zhou also sat at the table next to him. It was already 12 o'clock. Auntie's dumplings are delicious. Guo Ran gave a thumbs up to Long Liun's mother, and Xieting Zhou did the same. After the three of them worked together, Long Liun's mother often sent them meals. Sometimes she invited them to have dinner at home during holidays. Everyone had a good relationship. Just after they had dinner, another call came over. Long Liun answered the phone. After answering the call, he looked serious and looked at the two people who were about to finish a few bites. Big case, the people at the crematorium called the police, saying that two people stole the body. When Guo Ran heard the word corpse, his eyes lit up. He had been here for so long, and except for the last time when he was brave enough to do something righteous, he had never seen a corpse. Let's go. Hurry up. Guo Ran immediately ate the dumplings in 2 or 3 bites, and Xieting Zhou also finished eating. The three of them hurried out in the night. If it was before, Guo Ran would still feel a little scared to go out to work in the middle of the night, but now Xieting Zhou is by his side. He is so brave, with a master of metaphysics by his side. How can he be afraid of people if he is not afraid of ghosts? The three of them hurried to the crematorium, which is about half an hour away from the police station. There was no one here, and it was still smoking in the middle of the night. It looked a little scary, but after arriving, the staff of the crematorium were very enthusiastic. "Comrade police, you are finally here. We have caught the two people who stole the body. Come and have a look." Chu Yowei is a staff member of the crematorium. He and another colleague were on night watch tonight. As a result, someone stole the body. The two strong men subdued the man and tied him up in the house. "Take us to have a look," Guo Ran said, and then everyone walked inside. As soon as they walked outside, they heard the voice inside. "We came to take our daughter's body, why can't we take it?" "Why? And you arrested us? Are you still human?" Hearing the voice inside, Chu Yowei walked in with 3 young policemen, and then hurriedly explained. "Comrade police, please don't listen to this woman's nonsense. Whether we deliver the body or take the body away at the crematorium, we need proof. These two people didn't come to find the body with documents during the day, but came to steal the body in the middle of the night. Can they be normal people? They are definitely bad people. Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin. Chapter 234. Since the country has implemented cremation, there are professionals in places like crematoriums, and if the body needs to be cremated, a death certificate and some documents are required. Of course, there are also some bodies that are not managed by anyone and will be sent to the crematorium to wait for their families to pick them up. Generally, they are those who died in other places. The police will first send the bodies to the crematorium for placement. After the family members come, they will complete the procedures in the police station, and then go to the crematorium to pick up the bodies. After that, there is a series of processes for cremation or transporting them back home for cremation. This is the daily work of the staff in the crematorium. They did the same today. After sending a group of people away at night, they continued to work. Unexpectedly, when they went to the morgue to check, they found two sneaky bodies, which was really shocking. Then the two of them caught the two very old men and women, tied them up and called the police. To be honest, stealing bodies from the crematorium sounds weird, but it actually happens, so they take turns to keep watch every day. Corpses are also very valuable these days, okay? Or burial was popular in the early years, and many people stole corpses secretly, which was also a common thing. Xieting Zhou, Guo Ran and Long Liuyun all saw the couple who looked old. When they saw the police, they avoided their eyes, as if they had really done something wrong. Xieting Zhou glanced at the ghosts next to the couple, and in just a moment, he understood the whole story. Comrade police, we are really innocent. We came all the way from Mengshan just to take our dead daughter home. We are not bad people, comrade police. The man immediately spoke pitifully, and he was really sincere. Guo Ran encountered this kind of corpse-stealing case for the first time, and he was a little excited. He took out his police ID and handed it over. Police. Did you see it? Just say whatever I ask you later, understand? The two nodded quickly. Naturally, they didn't dare to tell lies in front of the police. Name, age, where you live, and do you have an ID card? Give me your ID card first. These days, checking ID cards is the fastest, but Guo Ran interrogated them as bad guys and didn't think they would have ID cards. But unexpectedly, the two really had them. Comrade police, the ID card is in my pocket, can you let me go? I'll get it for you. As the man said, Guo Ran just squatted down and said, I haven't confirmed your identity yet, so I can't unlock it. Where is it? I'll get it. As he said that, he felt in the man's pocket and took out the ID card, and the woman's too. Long Liuyun took out the ID card from the other person. It was found that the people living up there were indeed Mengshan. Mengshan is a very remote place. It takes at least a day and a night to get to Shangjing city by car. Did this couple come from Mengshan just to steal corpses? Do you have any information about the corpse they stole? What's the situation? Asked Chu Youwei on the side. Chu Youwei had already prepared the information and said quickly. The body they stole was a 22-year-old female body. Her name is Yu Xiao. She was studying at Shangjing University. She was a good student before. She was sent here 15 days ago. It is said that she committed suicide. She swallowed a lot of sleeping pills in the dormitory. When she was sent to the hospital for treatment, she was already dead. Later, the police issued a death certificate. As a result, no one went to her family, so the body was sent here and waited for the family to claim it. Bodies like this that have no family to claim will be temporarily stored in the crematorium. The people in the crematorium will not help with cremation. They just wait like this, waiting for someone to claim it. Comrade police. Yu Xiao is my daughter. Look, we still have the household registration book. Look, my daughter is really in it, which can prove our identity. The man shouted again. Guo Ran already knew that the other party's name was Yu Daqiang and the woman's name was Wang Mei. Both of them were from Mengshan. At this time, he took out the household registration book from his clothes and saw the situation on it. Yu Daqiang is the head of the household, Wang Mei is his wife, and they have 3 daughters, one named Yu Pundi, one named Yu Zayadai, one named Yu Lady, and finally a son, who looked like he was born 3 years ago, named Yu Zongbao. There is a line behind Yu Pundi's name, and I saw the name change below, Yu Xiao. It seems that this couple may really be Yu Xiao's parents. Untie them, they should be a family. It seems that it is not a big case. Guo Ran also relaxed and asked people to untie Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei. After untying them, the two stood there, not daring to move, and were frightened by the sudden arrival of the police. Ting Zhou, don't you ask a few questions? Guo Ran was the one asking questions from beginning to end. He felt that it was not good for him to behave like this, so he turned his head and asked Xieting Zhou. I have asked everything. Xieting Zhou's answer made Guo Ran and Long Liuyun shudder in an instant. Perhaps others may not understand what Xieting Zhou meant, but Guo Ran and Long Liuyun understood clearly. When they thought that this was a crematorium, wouldn't there be many ghosts around them? It was still creepy in the hot summer and they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Ah, then you ask, I'll continue asking. Your colleague asked the dead, and you asked the living. Good guy, no problem. Since you are Yu Xiao's parents, why don't you just come over during the day with the documents and take the body away, instead of coming over at night to steal it? Looking at Yu Xiao's parents' extremely guilty expressions, and looking at the names on the household registration book, Guo Ran knew that this couple must have treated their daughter badly, otherwise which parent would name their daughter like this? Name. I can't wait to have my preference for boys over girls written on my face. Comrade police, we really don't know. We are from the countryside. After asking someone, we found out that the body was at the crematorium, so we thought about coming over and taking our daughter away quickly. We never thought about the formalities. The man really didn't know. He looked sad now and then said, my daughter committed suicide. The police station called and told her to take it to the crematorium. We thought we could just pick it up when we came to the crematorium, so we thought we would come over and have a look. He was still explaining, but he looked even more guilty. The woman beside him didn't speak and just leaned on her husband. Okay, I understand. Since you are not stealing corpses, you still have to go back with us. Tomorrow morning I will ask someone to check where your daughter's death certificate was issued, and ask them to provide you with the information and get it. Once you get the information, you can come and pick up the body tomorrow. Guo Ran didn't want to embarrass the couple. After all, one look at the clothes on these two people's bodies showed that they were not living well. He came all the way from other places to pick up his daughter's body. It was considered as a gesture for him to help with the procedures. Good thing. Long Liuyun didn't expect that the so-called stealing of corpses would have such a result, and he agreed with Guo Ran. When Chu Yue from the crematorium heard about the situation, he understood the situation and did not hesitate. He asked the police to take the person away first. Once the procedures were completed, he could come and take the body tomorrow. When we went back, there were two more people in the police car. Although these two were not criminals, they still had to go through the procedures to collect the body tomorrow. They needed to get a certificate from the police station before going to the crematorium to collect the body. The car drove to the police station on Yangzhou Avenue. There was also a hotel nearby. We are about to go back to the police station. Just find a place to stay for one night nearby. Just come to the police station tomorrow morning to find us. We will help you contact the police station that was handling your daughter's case at that time. Then you can directly just go get the documents. Guo Ran explained while driving that he actually hated people who favored boys over girls, but as a public servant of the people, Guo Ran still treated everyone equally. Thank you, officer. Thank you, officer. Yu Daqiang was extremely grateful and thanked him frantically. Xieting Zhou sat in the passenger seat and remained silent. Long Liuyun also had a cold face. No one would have a good impression of such a patriarchal family, especially Long Liuyun was a girl. She has such a name, which is enough to show the family's love for her. Long Liuyun's father only has one daughter, and her mother has not remarried. Long Liun has always been the pride of the Long family and her mother, so she has always got with more resources than boys. I don't understand why some people prefer boys over girls. She equally hates all people and things that favor boys over girls. The car stopped. After the couple got out of the car, they were still thanking Guo Ran. However, after thanking him, Xieting Zhou spoke to the couple for the first time. I think you two may not be able to leave for a while. The Yu couple were stunned for a moment, standing there awkwardly, looking at the young policeman without daring to say a word. Guo Ran and Long Liun were stunned and looked at Xieting Zhou, wondering what was going on. Comrade police, what else do you want? Yu Daqiang asked nervously, showing a dry smile to Xieting Zhou, making his withered face look even more ugly. Xieting Zhou just looked at the couple in front of him and said, in our country's regulations on the administration of entry, exit, and disposal of corpses, there is Article 8, which strictly prohibits the sale of corpses and the use of corpses for commercial activities, so you two have already involved legal issues. I think you should be there tonight. Let's sit down in the police station and learn about our country's laws and regulations, and learn to respect the deceased. As Xieting Zhou's words came out, both Long Liun and Guo Ran were stunned. Yu Daqiang and his wife Wang Mei instantly looked even more panicked. They wanted to run but couldn't move as if something was stuck on their feet. Guo Ran stared at the two couples from the countryside in stunned silence. Something came to his mind, and he suddenly felt even more creepy. What can be done with a woman's corpse? Long Liun also thought about what a woman's body could do in a remote place. You want to match your daughter to a secret marriage. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 235. The man and woman in front of him suddenly looked extremely ugly and a little panicked. The man said quickly, no, comrade police, we didn't. We came here just to take our daughter home. We didn't want to do anything else. He explained to himself in a panic, but the wandering eyes betrayed him. Even as a police officer who had just joined the job, Guo Ran saw something strange about this man and immediately grabbed the other man's arm. Said coldly, follow us to the station first. If you are really innocent after questioning, our police will not slander any innocent people. This stopped the man from wanting to escape, so the woman next to him started crying, looking miserable. Comrade police, we don't know what you are talking about. But my daughter died miserably. She died at school without any problems. We also finally came from Mengshan to let our daughter be buried in peace. We are not bad guy. The woman started to cry as she spoke, and Long Liun on the side had already grabbed their arms. Okay, I know you are here to take away the body. It's not that I won't let you take it. It's just that we need to conduct an investigation. Guo Ran and Long Liun looked at each other and were very sure that if they were an ordinary family, they would definitely not do such a thing, but if it were these two people, let alone, the probability was quite high. Thinking about the names of the three daughters born by these two people, and then thinking about the name of a son, it is not difficult to see that these two people are patriarchal to the extreme, so when the eldest daughter Yu Xiao died, they wanted to use it is also possible to make money from this corpse. Just like it is said in a certain literary work about women, women are constantly exploited from the moment they are born. From birth to death, most women are involuntary. Many of them cannot control their own destiny and are controlled by men who are not of the same gender. Even in the modern era of equality between men and women, this is the same. In the end, Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei had no choice. They were outside the police station and they couldn't run away. Besides, since they were unfamiliar with the place, they had no choice but to obey the police and be taken in. It was already past 2 o'clock in the morning, but the three policemen were not asleep. After all, they were so angry that they could encounter such a terrible thing. After putting the two people in the inquiry room, Guo Ran he cautiously asked Xieting Zhou beside him. Tingzhou, when you were at the crematorium, you said you were already asking. Are you asking Yu Xiao? After learning that there are real ghosts in the world, and that ghosts can appear in front of people, Guo Ran's worldview has been really challenged, but he also feels that as a police officer, if the deceased can really appear and avenge himself, then can't all the suffering in the world be investigated clearly? Well, Yu Xiao was at the scene at the time. After her death, her parents were unwilling to help her collect her body. After returning to her hometown, she discovered that her parents had sold her body to a famous local wealthy businessman, the son of that wealthy businessman. A few years ago, I went to the river to make electric fish and passed away. After Yu Xiao's death, someone told the wealthy businessman Yu Xiao's birth date. They happened to be a match, so Yu Xiao's parents were found and gave him 100,000 yuan. Yu Xiao's parents paid a deposit to take the body back. The thing is that simple. The so-called stealing of corpses from the crematorium is just a guilty conscience of parents who want to secretly take the corpse back. This time it was not just the two of them who came here, but also two drivers sent by the wealthy businessman. When the time comes, we will drive directly back with the dead body, and we will not cremate it, but just bury it on the spot. Oh my God, so heartbroken. Guo Ran couldn't help but sigh, he just felt that it was cruel for parents to treat him like this. Long Liun also heard the result. As a woman, she felt that she suddenly felt the sadness of being a woman. It was the pain of being manipulated and sold like a commodity. Even if the person died, it was still to be sold like goods to make money for the family is so terrifying and so depressing. Our country's laws prohibit the sale of corpses. Anyone who commits such an act will be sentenced to 3 years in prison. She said coldly, but she actually knew that in many cases this legal rule had already been in place, but some ignorant places still maintained the old habits, and it was considered that the people did not sue the officials and did not correct them. Just like in a very remote place, after some elderly people die, they will not even be sent to the crematorium for cremation, but will directly choose to be buried. As for why the county doesn't care, it's because most of the elderly died at home, and the elderly in the early years might not even have an ID card. After they died, they were like dust, and no one cared. Well, so this time a victim came to sue. Yu Xiao, the person involved, sued her parents for wanting to use her body to get married in secret to make money. As a police officer, I naturally want to help the people. Let Master come to see this case tomorrow morning. See how to deal with it. Xie Tingzhou has no intention of interrogating people overnight. This matter is very simple. As long as what Yu Xiao said is true, he can just follow the clues and investigate. It is very easy. However, this matter involves the deceased, so naturally he still needs the help of his master. Help? Well, that's right. If this involves the sale of corpses, it's illegal. If the evidence is conclusive, the case will have to be handled across regions, and the master will definitely be required. Guo Ran thought about the poor deceased, and felt extremely sympathetic in his heart, but suddenly my mind was jumping and I thought of something. It's true that we are the police, but we serve the people. Ah, this ghost, is it within the scope of our service? Therefore, sometimes you will have wonderful ideas. Long Liun glared at Guo Ran and said. Anyone who has a grievance can come to us. What's wrong? The living need police officers, but the dead don't. This is true. If you see a random person seeing a ghost, you will naturally not dare to talk to him. However, if the person is wearing a police uniform, even if he is a ghost, he will naturally maintain a good impression of such a person. Because the police represent the country's protection of the people and are the ones who truly protect everyone. Xie Tingzhou also laughed, understanding that Guo Ran's worry was actually a reminder. After all, people and ghosts have different paths. If the ghost came to the police station to report the crime, it would sound a bit strange if they dealt with the person. Guo Ran, Don't worry. If a good ghost encounters someone like me, he will come to seek justice. If he is an evil ghost, he will directly kill people. If those of us who are police officers do not give justice to the victims, if it's fair, then the victim has already turned into a ghost. If he is wronged, it's not surprising that he turns into a devil, right? He asked, which for some reason made Guo Ran and Long Liun's hair stand on end. As a result, I heard Xieting Zhou add another sentence. It's reasonable for evil spirits to kill people, right? Guo Ran and Long Liun were both covered in cold sweats with such a light sentence. This was all because they had been with Xieting Zhou for a long time, and the two ghosts they saw, one ghost was a brave young man, and the other ghost was quiet and silent. The ghost couple made them forget that there are still evil ghosts in this world. Evil ghosts kill people, but they don't pay attention to other things. And why in popular movies and TV series, more evil ghosts are women? It's because there is a lot of persecution of women in this world, which has caused this. If we, the police, are unable to avenge these dead people, then no one can take care of them. Tingzhou, I support you. I must investigate this matter for you, Xiao. If the matter is true, we must let those two go to jail. Guo Ran also immediately promised. Yes. As police, we must protect and help any victim. Even if the victim is a cat or a dog, we must protect it. As soon as these words came out, Xieting Zhou and Long Liun burst into laughter. Who asked Guo Ran to go out all day to either rescue cats or look for dogs? The banners recently sent to me from the police station are all about saving my dog's life. Meow, 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 meow. The three of them continued to go on duty as they spoke. They did not interrogate Yu Daqiang and Wang Maimei for the time being, but they would not make it easy for them. The two people staying here in the interrogation room is not considered a detention. It can be said that Xieting Zhou brought the two people in because they saw that they had no legal awareness. In the next few hours, Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei, even in the inquiry lounge, no one came to ask questions. Daqiang, the police said it's illegal to do this. If we don't do it, we won't have that thing anymore. It's bad luck. Wang Mei whispered to her husband, and the thing pointed to Yu Xiao's body. Yu Daqiang shook his head directly and scolded his wife in a low voice. You fart. If that thing is not given to others, how will our son go to a good school in the future? How will he live in a big house? They gave us 500,000, how can we earn 500,000 in this life? It was precisely because of their wealth that Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei came all the way here. When they received a call from the police more than 10 days ago, they learned that their daughter had committed suicide, and they just cursed wildly on the phone. But when the police asked them to come and collect the body, they said no, and that they could do whatever they wanted. If someone hadn't informed them later that Yu Xiao's birth date coincided with the dead son of a local wealthy family, and they directly offered a price of 500,000 yuan, Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei would never have come. Shangjing City took it away from Yu Xiao. I heard that Yu Xiao committed suicide in school before, so I wanted to come over to make some noise and get some money to spend. However, this big city is full of capable people, and my daughter's university is very big. You can tell at a glance that there is someone there, so Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei didn't come to make trouble in the end. Coming here now is also for the 500,000, so Wang Daqiang must get the 500,000. But the police comrade said this is illegal. Wang Mei still made a careful suggestion, but Wang Daqiang didn't take it seriously. They are all farts. My daughter is mine, and the corpse she turned into is mine. I can do whatever I want. Can they still capture me? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 236. This is probably what many parents think. They give birth to a child, and then they think they control the child's entire life. Then they claim that you were born by us, so you should listen to us. Without us, you would not even have the chance to be born. None. Probably the most important thing in the world to test is how to be a parent. In this case, I believe that 90% of the people in the world are not worthy of being parents. The sky was getting bright soon. Of course Xieting Zhou and Guo Ran were on duty all night and could not sleep. When the captain Mao Kun came to take over in the morning, he also brought them breakfast. They were all his apprentices. Kun felt distressed. Master, we arrested 2 people last night, and they are in the interrogation room now. While eating fried dough sticks and talking at the same time, even if he had breakfast, he couldn't stop Guo Ran's mouth. What? You arrested 2 people last night? What's the situation? With this arrest warrant, you dare to arrest people? And you got them in the police station? I don't think you want the police uniform you are wearing anymore. Mao Kun was stunned when he heard this, and he was helpless at his apprentice's bold behavior. After all, you don't have a detention warrant, how could you just leave someone in the police station? This is against the rules. Lai Yun, you are the most sensible among you. How come you are also confused when they are confused? You have no proof to arrest people and detain them in our institute. Don't you know what this is called? Of course Long Lai Yun knew, but he was helpless at this moment. After all, the situation of the couple was different, and it involved ghost reporting, which was too complicated. So Long Lai Yun looked at Xieting Zhou aside, knowing that although his senior brother didn't like to talk, he believed everything his master said. Xieting Zhou was eating xiao longbao. He didn't like eating too greasy food, so he always ate xiao longbao and the like in the morning. At this moment, he noticed Long Lai Yun's gaze and said in a calm voice. Well, master, we all know what it means to be detained without a warrant, but if we didn't bring the people back last night, both of them would definitely be dead. I told you, they wouldn't survive 3 o'clock in the morning last night. There is a good saying that people who do evil will be punished by nature. If a person loses his conscience, there is nothing he can do if he is chased by ghosts. What? Mao Kun was shocked, thinking that 2 more people in the station would be better than 2 more corpses. Guo Ran and Long Lai Yun were also shocked. After all, they supported Xieting Zhou's words last night. They knew that there are not only kind ghosts in this world, but also evil ghosts. However, they did not expect that Yu Xiao also had murderous thoughts. Master, let's go investigate this case first. The information is over there. By the way, please help us contact the police station that handled Yu Xiao's death case and ask about the situation there. Master will tell us whether we did the right thing. Mao Kun also knew that Guo Ran was more out of the box and might not follow the rules sometimes, but Xieting Zhou and Long Lai Yun were the most disciplined. Since they did such a thing, there should be a reason. He got up and went to the table nearby, and sure enough he found the information. It contained detailed information on Yu Daqiang, Wang Mei, and Yu Xiao. He looked at the case where the parents came to Shangjing City to collect the body of their daughter, and then read the following: after Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei planned to sell Yu Xiao's body for a secret marriage, Mao Kun couldn't help but sigh. Having been a policeman for a long time, I have seen all kinds of evil things, so naturally I have seen this marriage under the shadow of a person. It is nothing more than a shackles imposed by the living on the dead. It is actually a fallacy to say that it is for the benefit of the children. It's to make myself feel better. Looking at the reporter above, his name turned out to be Uziawa. Malkan suddenly felt horrified. Thinking of Sieting's miraculous ability, he understood the whole story. Thinking that Uziawa had committed suicide, she quickly contacted the police station in Beijing, and sure enough, they soon inquired about Uziawa's suicide case. This Uziawa is very pitiful. Her parents favor boys over girls. She was not allowed to go to school at first. People in the village signed a guarantee letter for Uziawa to go to university. She is a girl with excellent academic performance and was admitted to Beijing. Where's the university? Malkan naturally sympathized with the police officer over there. If I go to school well, I can live a good life in the future, but this girl's parents are not human beings. They took the girl's photo and threatened Uziawa to make money for them in college. Uziawa worked part-time to give them money while going to school. It was okay in the first 2 years, and they were given 3,000 yuan a month. Later, the couple became even more greedy and asked Uziawa for 5,000 yuan a month. Uziawa was just a student, how could she have money? And then he just took medicine and committed suicide. This is the information investigated by the police station over there. It was found on Uziawa's mobile phone. It's just that it was 2 years ago that Uziawa's parents threatened her with her photos. Uziawa committed suicide 2 years later. It could not be traced back to their parents, so the case could only be concluded as suicide. At that time, people from our police station called Uziawa's parents to come over to handle Uziawa's funeral arrangements. They were scolded by the other party and said they didn't want the girl and let the police deal with it as they pleased and throw it anywhere. The policeman over their side, and then suddenly remembered something. Why do you remember asking about Uziawa's case? Are her parents causing trouble? After all, parents like that don't look like good people. Only then did Malkan understand why his apprentice said that Uziawa wanted to kill someone. She had become so depressed because of her parents' pressure and even chose to commit suicide. After her death, she would naturally be full of resentment. If she hadn't met her apprentice, she would have killed her directly. Parents are also possible. Well, her parents are here. My apprentice tried to steal Uziawa's body at the crematorium last night and was caught by it. You guys will send someone over to transfer Uziawa's case. This matter is very serious. Uziawa's parents seem to be planning to marry Uziawa's corpse in a secret marriage, and we need to deal with it seriously. Damn it! They are not human at all. These parents are worse than animals. The other end cursed, really feeling that the couple were not human beings. After agreeing to Malkan's coming, he hung up the phone. After Malkan hung up the phone, he felt very depressed. After all, who would feel better if he heard that such a beautiful little girl died like this, or was forced to die by her parents? When they went to the apprentice's place again, the three of them had already finished breakfast. Malkan said directly. Tingzhou, I saw in the case report that the person who reported the case was Uziawa. Is she here now? Malkan didn't say whether the person who reported the crime was a human or a ghost. As long as he didn't kill anyone, everything was easy to talk about. Well, she's here, and if we could give her a fair solution, she wouldn't do anything. There was something in Sieting's words. Malkan frowned but said. Is it possible that she can still kill people under our noses? This is the police station. Even though Malkan knew that the couple were not good people, there was nothing he could do. Protecting the people was what the police had to do. Master, you can give it a try. Good ghosts seek justice, and evil ghosts take lives. I am not the Lord of Hell and can control these ghosts. It is only because I have this police uniform that people are willing to tell me their grievances. If people can't solve things, ghosts will naturally solve them themselves. Xie Tingzhou is not saying that he is partial to anyone, but if things go on like this, more and more ghosts will appear. If people don't want to have good contact with ghosts, then ghosts will have many ways to manipulate people's hearts. There was silence in the room for a moment. At this moment, Mao Kun, Guo Ran and others truly understood that Xie Tingzhou was a true master of metaphysics. What he did not have to be done in a human way. If he wanted to, he could manipulate ghosts to kill people. No one found it. But now that he has chosen to become a policeman, he naturally wants to use police methods to give justice to the ghosts. If the police uniform he is wearing cannot give the ghost justice, then the ghost will have to seek his own justice, and he will not take action. In other words, if Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei did not receive the punishment they deserve, then if Yu Xiao killed someone, Xie Tingzhou would not care. This matter will definitely be dealt with. Our country does not allow anyone to insult corpses. This is an act that is inhumane. Mao Kun said, calling his disciples to interrogate. Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei, who had been in the inquiry room for several hours, finally saw an old police officer and immediately began to cry out for injustice. "Comrade police, how can you just lock us up here? We are innocent, we just want to take our daughter home." Yu Daqiang squeezed out 2 tears as he spoke, looking even more pitiful at this time. If you don't know what the other person has done, you will definitely sympathize with the other person, but if you know what the other person has done over the years, who will sympathize with him? Yu Daqiang, Wang Mei, I have read the case report, and also transferred the Yu Xiao suicide case files from other police stations. Do you need me to tell you about it? Although Yu Xiao committed suicide, she was forced to. The reason for committing suicide was because of Yu Tu. When Yu Xiao came home, Yu Tu took off Yu Xiao's clothes, took photos of Yu Xiao, and threatened Yu Xiao if she didn't go there every month. I sent these photos to Yu Xiao's school forum to get money from my family, and used them as threats to ask Yu Xiao for 2 years of money. Am I right? To put it bluntly, like the case of Yu Xiao's suicide, even if they investigated Yu Xiao's parents, they couldn't use this as a crime to judge the 2 people's guilt. There was not much evidence. Because Yu Xiao's parents only sent photos to Yu Xiao without any written records, and they should have made voice threats. These processes are also speculations made by the police in handling the case, and they are also the guesses closest to reality. When Yu Daqiang heard this, his face suddenly turned ugly. He poked his wife Wang Mei next to him. Wang Mei's face was not much better, so she quickly squeezed out a smile and said, "Comrade police, what are you talking about? Why don't I know? Then my daughter has a promising future and goes to school in a big city. Why shouldn't we give our parents some money? If we don't give money, then he's not a filial daughter, he's a white-eyed wolf. As for the photo you mentioned, Comrade police, it was taken by my daughter herself and has nothing to do with us. Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 237. Putting everything on the dead man's head, it seems that this way he will not be guilty of any crime. Wang Mei is attached to her husband Yu Daqiang, so she is obedient and immediately comes out to support Daqiang when Daqiang is in trouble, which only makes people feel ridiculed. She is willing to take photos without clothes. Then why don't you take them? Guo Ran was very angry. He really didn't have any good impression of the couple in front of him, even though he knew that Yu Xiao might want to kill this couple. Both of them thought there was nothing wrong with it. Before, I thought that Yu Xiao was sick, depressed and committed suicide, but after knowing what the couple did, I felt that Yu Xiao was forced to death by the 2 of them, and she deserved to die in Yu Xiao's hands. Guo Ran, Mao Kun fiercely slapped the document on Guo Ran's head. He was currently recording the video. How could he say such personal words? Even if you look down on this couple, you can't say such things. Wang Mei's face turned pale when asked, but she still wanted to get a tooth. Comrade police, depending on what you say, I am just an ordinary housewife. My daughter is different. She is a college student in college, so she likes these young people's things. That is different from us. This is called trend. She is a housewife, and she also knows the trends. Anyway, it means that she only likes to take this kind of photos when she is in college. Housewives like her don't know how to take photos. Long Liun was speechless, feeling that the continued interrogation was meaningless. Comrade police officer, what my wife said is true. My daughter has had her own ideas since she was a child. She is very rebellious and never listens to what her mother and I say. Although she looks good in studies, in fact her relationship between men and women is chaotic. Very well, she had an affair with a leader in our village when she went to school. They forced us to let her go to school. How could we offend a leader in the village? So she went to college, but she still didn't study well even in a big city. I must have seduced those men in various ways at school, so I took these photos just to please those men. This has nothing to do with us being parents. He probably knew that the dead would never come back to life, so Yu Daqiang's words were so arrogant that he almost nailed Yu Xiao to the pillar of shame. This is a man. If he wants to destroy a woman, he must do it between a man and a woman. To throw dirty water on the issue. Xie Tingzhou heard this and was amused by this man's words. He looked at Yu Daqiang with a smile, and then said something that made Mao Kun look over immediately. Come over. To whom was he speaking? Has that thing come over? It felt like the air in the interrogation room suddenly became several degrees cooler. Xie Tingzhou took out the familiar yellow paper from his clothes, and this time, he stretched out his hand towards Guo Ran. Hand. Guo Ran didn't know why, so he stretched out his hand, only to see that Xie Tingzhou got a small needle from somewhere. After pricking Guo Ran's hand, blood immediately flowed out, and then Guo Ran was passively held by Xie Tingzhou and pressed on the yellow. There were bloody incantations written on the talisman, but he didn't retract his hand at all. Instead, he was a little excited. Is my blood the same? He originally thought that only Xie Tingzhou's blood could do it, but now that he saw that his own blood could draw talismans, Guo Ran not only didn't feel any pain, but also felt quite happy. Of course, anyone's blood will do, and if you want to learn, I can teach you how to draw talismans. There will be more and more ghosts in the future, so it's okay to familiarize yourself with them in advance. Really? I can learn it too. Guo Ran was extremely happy. After retracting his hand, he quickly put it into his mouth and took a sip, only to be glared at by Long Liun. There is a band-aid, don't suck it like this. What if there is a bacterial infection? As he said that, he took a band-aid and put it on Guo Ran. Xie Tingzhou held the yellow talisman in his hand, which made Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei feel nervous and unspeakably scared for some reason. I saw the policeman in front of me. This policeman, who was supposed to reject any feudal superstition, was actually holding this yellow talisman that looked like a dancing god, which looked even more creepy. Only the person involved knows whether what you just said is true or false. Do you know why I left you at the door of the police station last night? Of course Yu Daqiang and Wang Mei didn't know, and they didn't even dare to say anything. Xie Tingzhou laughed and gave an answer. Because last night your daughter Yu Xiao personally called the police and told me that you planned to sell her body for incest. As a police officer, of course I can't ignore it. Now let's listen to the parties involved. As Xie Tingzhou casually pressed the yellow paper to the side, he saw a girl in a red dress with long hair shawl standing there in the empty space, with a yellow talisman attached to her body. She lowered her head. Black hair covering all of her face. Everyone was immediately frightened into silence by such a terrifying scene. When people are truly scared, there is no sound. Mao Kun was mentally prepared, but seeing the female ghost in red like this, his mind suddenly became confused. He just felt that if this was not handled properly, he would definitely become an evil ghost. The same goes for Guo Ran and Long Liun. They didn't expect that the female ghost was actually wearing a red dress. According to the inferences of various novels, a woman who died wearing a red dress could easily become a powerful ghost. Don't ask how the two of them knew. Since the first, after seeing a ghost for the first time, the two began to read various novels about ghosts like crazy. Naturally, they were very sensitive. Gan Yu Daekyung was so frightened by the red figure that suddenly appeared that he couldn't move. When he heard the crashing sound, he was so frightened that he couldn't control himself. If this person didn't do bad things, he wouldn't be so scared, but once he did something bad, he would feel guilty. When seeing this ghostly thing, he will be extremely frightened. At this time, his face will be as pale as if he is about to die. Wang Mei was not much better. She shivered when she saw the red dress. She tried her best to hold her husband's shoulders, and they both trembled together. It happened to be 2 o'clock in the morning on the day Yu Xiao died, and she was wearing a red dress. The time and place were favorable, so it was easy for evil spirits to appear. If Xie Zhou had not gone to the crematorium, it is estimated that Yu Daekyung and Wang Mei's car would have encountered a car accident on the way. The evil spirits were very vindictive. Mom and Dad, were those photos really taken by me? The female ghost in red floated slowly behind Yu Daekyung and Wang Mei. Her voice was leisurely and terrifying, with an indescribable chill on the two of them. In the eyes of Mao Kun and Guo Ran, the ghost in red was the female ghost had already stretched out her hands, her nails were swollen, and slowly landed on the backs of Yu Daekyung and Wang Mei's heads, and she was about to start a killing spree. Yu Daekyung was frightened to death by the sound of his dead daughter's voice, which made Wang Mei cry crazily. No, no, it was your dad who insisted you take the photo. It's your dad. Your dad said that you went too far after you got into college and you were too ambitious. He wouldn't be able to control you by then. As long as he has your photo, you don't dare to be disobedient. Mom is innocent too. Xiao, please let mom go. It's all your dad who asked me to do it, and there's nothing I can do about it. Your dad also forced me to take those photos. The woman cried and told the truth. In fact, the matter was very simple. It was just a father in the village who wanted to imprison his daughter who flew out, so he came up with such a vicious plan, and Wang Mei, Yu Xiao's mother, was the accomplice. Dad, you just said in front of the police that I have unclear relationships with many men, is that true? A cold voice sounded from behind, and there was an indescribable chill on his neck. Wang Daekyung did not dare to look back. His whole body was trembling, and he tried hard to focus on the policeman in front of him. He was full of pleas for help, but this time he told the truth. No, you are a good girl. You have never had anything to do with boys. I am lying. I am lying to the police. You have no relationship with men. I asked your mother to take those photos, just to ask questions. You want money. As he spoke, he was so frightened that he shed tears and his voice was trembling. At this moment, the female ghost who lowered her head finally raised her head, letting everyone see her face. It was a face that was too pale, and a pair of red eyes that were ghostly, with a strange murderous intent, as if it had abandoned all human emotions. What are you going to do to my body when you come to Shangjing City? The questioning was more gentle, but the cold feeling on the neck was even more terrifying, and one could feel the cold thing on the back of the neck tightening, making the skin and flesh stick together, making Yu Daekyung and Wang Mei even more frightened. I'm sorry, Xiao, it's my fault, it's my greed. I heard someone said that your birth date matches the young master of the Tang family, so I thought you would be lonely when you died alone. If you could be with the Tang family, when the young master gets married, even if he goes to the underworld, he will have someone to accompany him, so he won't be so lonely. It's my fault, I shouldn't be like this. Who would have thought that his dead daughter would turn into an evil spirit, and now she is strangling him by the neck. Wang Daekyung is still trying to save his respect. Unfortunately, his wife beside him has collapsed. Wang Mei is being strangled by the neck, but she is even more frightened. It's all your dad. Xiao. It's your dad who insists on collecting this money. Originally, we never thought of looking for your body, but your dad said that the Teng family would pay 500,000 yuan, and gave 100,000 yuan as a deposit. That's why we came to find your body. Your father wanted to buy your body to buy a house for your brother. What Wang Mei told was the truth. The so-called feeling that you died alone is just what a living person said to comfort himself. Why was Yu Xiao's body sold to others? Wasn't it just for money? Yu Xiao's hands became heavier and heavier. The veins on their necks were already bulging, and their cheeks were completely congested. They could hardly speak a word. Seeing that a murder was about to happen in front of him, Mao Kan stood up and wanted to stop it, but found that his hand passed through Yu Xiao's hand and he couldn't touch anything at all. So he could only look at his apprentice Yeting Zhou, who coughed. Xiao, let it go, our police station will give you justice. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 238. After hearing this, Yu Xiao retracted her hand, but still stood behind her parents sadly. This time, she looked directly at the Captain Mao Kun. She could also see that although Xieting Zhou was powerful, but his status in the police station is not as high as that of Mao Kun, and he even seems to respect Mao Kun very much. Captain Mao, I can get the justice I deserve, right? The female ghost's voice floated over with a chill and sinister tone. It seemed to be a threat, but also seemed to be a plea. However, after everyone saw the way she pinched her parents without hesitation, who could say that the current female ghost was the one who was raped before? Parents threaten their daughter who ends up committing suicide? Yes. Of course. Yu Xiao, don't worry, the police will give justice to any victim, no matter you are a human or a ghost, as long as your parents make mistakes, we will definitely punish them severely, so calm down now, listen to me and continue the interrogation. When the evidence is conclusive, I believe the law will give you a result. Mao Kun's voice was very nervous. He had been a police officer for many years, and the most nervous time was when he persuaded people to jump off the building. At that time, Mao Kun was in his early 30s and had a young apprentice who was only 20 years old. As a result, the little girl was in front of him. The young apprentice jumped in the face. After that, the young apprentice suffered from mental illness and could no longer be a police officer. Therefore, Mao Kun was very attentive to his young apprentices and never let people like Xieting Zhou do dangerous things. For police officers like them, they usually walk between light and darkness, and it is too easy to cause psychological collapse. Even Mao Kun regularly undergoes psychological investigations in their bureau. Okay, I will trust Captain Mao just once. Yu Xiao's blood-red eyes looked at Mao Kun, and then she laughed, but the way she laughed looked even more ghostly. Even though it was morning, it still made people feel terrifying. In the daytime, Yu Xiao was like, if you dare to attack the couple, if it comes at night, wouldn't it be possible to kill them directly? The ensuing interrogation went extremely smoothly. Mao Kun looked at the two couples in front of him expressionlessly, who were so frightened by Yu Xiao that their faces turned pale and even trembled. He thought to himself, why did he bother to do this if he had known this? Is it appropriate to turn one's own flesh and blood into this? Now that the victim is here, let me ask again. Were the photos that the police found in Yu Xiao's mobile phone that you and your wife sent to her 2 years ago, taken by you and your wife? Are they used to threaten you? Will Yu Xiao give you money every month? At that time, the police asked the people in Yu Xiao's dormitory. On the day of Yu Xiao's suicide, all the people in her dormitory were at home. It seemed that it was a carefully chosen day. Originally, the couple might have continued to want to lie and entangle, but the ghost behind them was still going crazy. It seemed that if they told a lie the next moment, the person behind them would strangle them to death. Yu Daqiang opened his mouth, but was glared at by Wang Mei. "Aren't you telling the truth? Are you planning to let your daughter strangle us to death?" As soon as these words came out, Yu Daqiang could only compromise and gritted his teeth. "Yes. 2 years ago, we took advantage of our daughter's return home and secretly took photos of her without clothes. We just wanted to threaten her into giving money to the family. The family is poor and life is not easy. She also has 2 younger sisters. She has to support her younger brother. She is so smart and will definitely make money in a big city. Her mother and I were afraid that she would no longer care about the family once she became successful, so we took photos to threaten her and asked her to send money to the family every month. From that time on, she would give her family 3,000 yuan a month. With these 3,000 yuan, Yu Daqiang did not work very hard. In addition, his other 2 daughters had grown up. Yu Daqiang asked his second daughter to drop out of school and work while his third daughter was still in school and received a scholarship. The one who had the best life was Yu Daqiang's youngest son. He was simply heartbroken and treated his daughter unworthy of being a parent. Guo Ran felt very disgusted and thought that if he could get married and have children in the future and have a lovely daughter, he would definitely touch her to the sky. Long Liuyun also frowned. He didn't expect that when a parent saw that his child had potential, what he wanted to do was not to support his child, but to break the other's wings. Is it because Yu Xiao was a girl? She is just a student who has just entered college. Even if she went to a good college 2 years ago, she has little money. Your behavior is forcing her to die. And according to the police investigation, 2 months before Yu Xiao's death, I have given you 5,000 yuan every month. She often worked part-time and became a tutor just to give you money. The long-term oppression made her suffer from depression, and she finally chose to commit suicide by swallowing sleeping pills. Her death, it has nothing to do with you. The police did not conduct follow-up investigations before because the time span was too long and there was no written proof, that is, there was a lack of so-called evidence. But now what Yu Daqiang said personally is evidence that he forced Xiao to die. Comrade police, why did we force her to death? She wanted to die herself, Wang Mei wanted to say something, but the next moment, Yu Xiao's fingers had already tightened Wang Mei's throat, making her Wang Mei couldn't make any sound. She was hanging upside down in front of Wang Mei. She looked like in many classic horror movies. Her hair was scattered in the air, and her red eyes were pointed at Wang Mei while hanging upside down. Wang Mei was instantly frightened and lost her mind. Sound. Mao Kun knew that Yu Xiao had just promised not to kill the couple, so he was very calm when he saw this scene. I can now confirm that Yu Xiao's death has a lot to do with the threats and coercion of you and your wife. You two are involved in the crime of manslaughter. This will be confirmed after the documents of Yu Xiao's suicide case are transferred. Although he didn't know what the crime of manslaughter was, Yu Daqiang's face was very ugly. He didn't even dare to look at his wife, especially when Yu Xiao was standing upside down in front of his wife. He knew that if he didn't tell the truth later, he would probably be strangled to death by the ghost that his daughter had turned into. Yu Xiao just watched her mother who gave birth to her unable to breathe. When she was about to die, she let go of her hand and saw Wang Mei coughing crazily. She coughed and spit out blood, which looked very scary. Comrade police, I plead guilty. I plead guilty. I forced Yu Xiao to death with the photo. It was my fault, I plead guilty. Please save me, save me. In the face of life, many things seem to be vulnerable to human beings. The interests that were previously cared about have now become the protection of their own lives. Mao Kun understood this very well, while Guo Ran showed a sarcastic expression. Do you have anything to say about your plan to sell Yu Xiao's body? As long as the suspect cooperates, the case will be much simpler, Mao Kun continued to ask. Wang Mei was still coughing, but Yu Daekyong was already very scared and said quickly. "Comrade police, I don't want to sell her body. She died in another place. Our hometown does not allow unmarried women to enter the ancestral tomb. We think it is unlucky. So we thought that there is a cremation policy in big cities. We thought that the people at the police station would help with the cremation and just find a place to bury it. But my wife received a call from the richest Tang family in our area. They are willing to give 500,000 yuan. My wife said that as long as there is 500,000 yuan, she can buy a house for her son locally." Yu Daekyong threw all the charges on his wife at this time, not saying that he was the one who was tempted at first. Wang Mei felt like she was going crazy when she heard this, especially since she had already felt the pain of death. Her eyes widened at this moment, and she looked at Yu Daekyong in horror, and her voice could not help but become sharp. "Yu Daekyong, how dare you say such a thing? It was you who wanted to have a secret marriage with him, and not only did you want 500,000 yuan, but you also wanted to find a job for you. Why didn't you say so? Xiao, these were all your father's ideas. It was your father who took the photo of you, and it was your father who wanted to sell you. It has nothing to do with me. You also know that I have no status in the family, and your father doesn't listen to me at all." Wang Mei said in a state of collapse. Yu Daekyong went crazy when he heard this. He was afraid that Yu Xiao would do something to him, so he couldn't help but want to do something to Wang Mei, but there was someone who was faster than him. Oh no, there was a ghost who was faster than him. Yu Xiao appeared in front of Yu Daekyong and directly pinched Yu Daekyong's neck, making him unable to speak for a moment, especially at this time. Looking up at his daughter with blood and tears in front of him, he was even more terrified. Mao Kun saw the scene and wanted to stop it, but his hand went through Yu Xiao's body, so he could only quickly classify the case. "You two are involved in the sale of corpses, which violates the laws of our country. Both the buyer and the seller need to pay the legal price. We will file a case for investigation and there will be a result within a week." After this promise, Yu Xiao really let go of her hand. Yu Daekyong coughed up blood after being pinched, but he deserved it. No one sympathized with him. The case has now been solved. The police station next door also took the case file about Yu Xiao. After that, Mao Kun led the police to cooperate with the local police in Mengshan across provinces and quickly caught Teng Jinshui, who bought the corpse. There was nothing he could do. Ghosts are more terrifying than people. This case took about 10 days to handle. Although the 10 days were spent on investigation and evidence collection, Yu Xiao would come over and strangle Yu Daekyong once every hour. She would not strangle Yu Daekyong to death, but she would make Yu Daekyong suffer. Even Yu Xiao's mother would be strangled by this evil ghost every 2 hours. The police wanted to stop it at the beginning, but later they got used to it. As long as she didn't strangle him to death, everything would be fine. Besides, it was the couple who wronged the female ghost first. Now she has become an evil ghost to take revenge. It's good that she didn't take your life directly. What else do you want to do? In the end, the couple was sentenced to 10 years in prison, 7 of which were for forcing Yu Xiao to death and 3 years for buying and selling corpses. Teng Jinshui was also sentenced to 3 years in prison. After all, buying and selling are the same crime. The case was settled quickly, but the red-clothed female ghost that everyone feared did not disappear. After investigating the case, she stayed in the police station, so that no one had to turn on the air conditioner. Anyway, it was cold all around. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 239. Director Wang, the chief of the police station on Yong'an Avenue in Shangjing City, has been very anxious these days. Although the entire police station is cold, he is still very anxious. The previous incident of Xie Zhou being able to make ghosts appear has been reported to the police. But there has been no response yet, and it is estimated that it will take some time. After all, there are no real ghosts in the evidence given by director Wang. Only human eyes can see real ghosts. But not long after submitting these information, an uninvited guest came to the police station. When he returned to the police station, he found Yu Xiao, a female ghost in red, inside the police station. Director Wang was stunned. He learned from Mao Kan's mouth the reason why Yu Xiao became an evil ghost. The person who committed suicide, coupled with the specific time and specific clothes, eventually formed a resentful evil ghost. If he hadn't met Xie Zhou, he would have died a long time ago. The killing begins. Now the case of the female ghost in red has been solved, her parents have been punished as they deserve, and the two sisters are also protected by the police. As for the younger brother, Yu Xiao doesn't care at all. The final fine in this case was used by the police to support Xiao's two younger sisters. As for her little brother, it was said that he was given to relatives to raise. However, after the case was over, Yu Xiao did not reincarnate. Instead, she stayed in the police station, floating around all day. At first, everyone was a little scared, but a few days later, they found that Yu Xiao was just floating around, and occasionally, I helped everyone do something, and everyone got used to it. After all, you can't do anything to a ghost, and in the summer, there is a ghost here, and you don't even need to turn on the air conditioner. It's really cool. The police station has regular training, and the police officers led by Mao Kan even ran to Yu Xiao to enjoy the coolness after training, which was simply outrageous. So why didn't Yu Xiao reincarnate? Why did she stay in our police station? Director Wang asked this ultimate question, which made Mao Kan smile awkwardly. Ah, isn't this Ting Zhou saying that there is no channel for ghosts to reincarnate? There are so many people who have died now, but there is no chance to reincarnate. In addition, Yu Xiao is different from ordinary ghosts. She is an evil ghost, so she stays here. She's in the police station, so we can keep an eye on her. Mao Kan felt guilty when he said this. Surveillance on her? Who is spying on whom? Do you think you can defeat an evil spirit? She can wander around our police station in broad daylight now. If she really wants to harm someone, do you think we can all run away? And I don't know if this ghost will have any influence around us, so why don't anyone in the bureau feel disgusted? Director Wang couldn't figure it out. Why did the police below accept the existence of a ghost in the house so quickly? Is this appropriate? Is it reasonable? Probably because Yu Xiao is really hardworking and always helps everyone with things, so everyone likes her very much. That's right, Yu Xiao was originally a hardworking girl. Even if she turned into a devil after her death, she still had to play her role in the police station when she knew she had no chance of reincarnation. What happened during the day? Helping the female policeman carry documents and water, or helping the male policeman check the surveillance, etc. She is a ghost and does not need to rest. With this ability, she naturally helps everyone in various ways and makes everyone happy. The female police officers even burned new skirts for Yu Xiao. The male police officers were not far behind and chose beautiful sportswear and sneakers for Yu Xiao. Now they are raising Yu Xiao like a daughter. That doesn't change the fact that this is a ghost. Could it be that she plans to stay in our bureau forever? Where is Ting Zhou? Let him come over and I'll ask him what's going on. Director Wang also has a headache. Although there is no problem with having one more ghost in the bureau, it is not an option. What if he encounters a new ghost again in the future? Mao Kan could only call Xie Zhou over again. It had been a month since he last saw Director Wang, and Xie Zhou was very calm. Ting Zhou, I also know about Yu Xiao's matter, and I deeply sympathize with it, but after all, People and ghosts have different paths, and Uziah staying in our bureau is also a problem. I want to ask, since if you can see the ghost, there is definitely a way to send Uziah away, why didn't you send her away? Director Wang also believes that there must be a reason why Xietingzhou did not send the other party away, which is why today's questioning was conducted. Moreover, the evil ghost staying in the police station is a very bad signal and makes people think too much. Director Wang, my master must have told you that the channel for reincarnation has disappeared before, but this is only the beginning. In the next 20 years or so, ghosts will continue to devour each other because they cannot reincarnate, and then reach the level of evil ghosts. If they have more powerful abilities than evil spirits and cannot be reincarnated, what does Director Wang think they will do? Xietingzhou thought about the appearance of hundreds of ghosts walking at night in his memory. Those ghosts had already changed their bodies. The extremely terrifying ghosts had annihilated humanity and devoured humans as food. By that time, humans would be like fish on the chopping board, and anyone could bite them. One mouthful. What? Director Wang was also very shocked. Although he had some guesses about Xietingzhou leaving this evil ghost behind, he didn't expect that it was for such a reason. Director Wang definitely didn't believe it before, but after seeing ghosts with his own eyes, Director Wang believed it all. I stayed with Uziah just so that the evil ghost Uziah can protect the people in our police station. From now on, humans who die normally will become ghosts, wandering in places where humans can't see them, and they may also be killed by other evil spirits. Ghosts devour us, so we humans also need weapons and evil ghosts to help. Uziah has sought justice for herself and trusts and relies on humans. She will protect all of you. Xietingzhou was very straightforward. Many people had never seen the fighting power of an evil ghost, but for people like Uziah, even though there was no life in her hands, she was still very lethal against other ghosts. Tingzhou, I want to report this matter to the higher UPS. If what you say is true, I must make the higher UPS prepare. Director Wang looked serious as never before, and Xietingzhou did not object and directly took out the yellow talisman that he had prepared long ago. This is a yin-yang talisman. If you drop anyone's blood on it, you can see the ghosts around you within a minute. If the people above don't believe it, Director Wang can let them use this. 100 talismans are enough for you. Verified. This is the latest yin-yang talisman rewarded in the metaphysics system. It allows ordinary people to see ghosts after bleeding. Xietingzhou knows that the ghosts breeding wantonly will be known to the higher UPS sooner or later. It is better to prepare early. If there are really hundreds of on the day when ghosts travel at night, you can also take the best countermeasures in advance. Okay, then you go ahead and do your work. I will resolve this matter as soon as possible. Director Wang's hands holding these yin and yang talismans were trembling, and after Mao Kun followed Xietingzhou out, he couldn't help but look at his apprentice. Tingzhou, is what you said true? Will there really be many ghosts appearing in the future to harm mankind? If they are bad people, the police can control them, but if they are evil spirits, even the police are mortal, so how can they protect themselves? Of course what I said is true, but no matter how evil the ghosts are, they all have people they want to protect. All we have to do is to make these evil ghosts no longer evil and turn them into protectors of humans. Except for some special evil ghosts, many ghosts have things they care about. Xietingzhou knows how smart humans should deal with these ghosts. Mao Kun instantly understood what his apprentice meant and didn't ask any more questions. When the two of them walked through the corridor, they met Uziah. Uziah was floating in the daylight, holding documents in her hands and wearing a policewoman's uniform. She bought a new little dress for her, her eyes were bright and she looked very happy. After the three of them greeted each other, Mao Kun returned to his office and started a new job. Xietingzhou also returned to his multi-person office and met Guo Ran and Long Liuyun. Tingzhou, you came just in time. Someone called the police. The police have been dispatched. Let's go. Hugging Xietingzhou, Guo Ran led his brother outside, followed by Long Liuyun in police uniform. After the three of them got in the car, Long Liuyun spoke. Someone from Angzan community called the police, saying that someone broke into the house and beat the owner. Enthusiastic people were already blocking the way. It is said that the woman and her daughter wanted to divorce her husband. The husband did not agree, so they came to the door with their parents and locked the door. The lock was picked, and the three men directly beat the owner. When the neighbors and the property owners saw it, they quickly stopped them and called the police. The car drove faster, and Guo Ran became very angry when he heard this. This kind of man really embarrasses us men. Why doesn't he go to war if he has this ability? What kind of hero is he who beats his wife? Since becoming a police officer, Guo Ran has really received several domestic violence cases. Although there are also men who have been victims of domestic violence, most of the domestic violence cases involve female victims. Men and women are born with different physical strength, and even more so. Guo Ran looked down on such men who were prone to violence from men. So as we go over, if the two are divorced, it could be a criminal case, but if there is no divorce, the case could end up being a mediation. Long Liuyun's face was also very ugly. After all, he had handled 3 domestic violence cases before, and only one of them ended up getting divorced. The remaining 2 ended up being reconciled. Mingming was almost beaten to death, and yet he still cried for reconciliation. This was Long Liuyun's face. Liuyun didn't understand. But she also knows that some women do it for their children, and they all have difficulties. Guo Xianzu remained silent and stepped on the accelerator. In less than 10 minutes, they arrived at Angzan community, parked the car and went straight upstairs. He rushed to the 12th floor according to the floor where the property alarm was called, and as soon as he got out of the elevator door, he heard the man's extremely arrogant shouting. "What's wrong with me beating you? I'm going to beat you. You didn't even give me a son, you deserve to be beaten. You still want to divorce me? Why do you divorce me? How have I ever felt sorry for you? I am today leave it here. Unless I die, I will never divorce you." Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 240. At this time, the sound was transmitted directly from the house to the elevator, which was enough to prove the arrogance of this man. Guo Ran, Xietingzhou and Long Liuyun all quickened their pace. Sure enough, they saw that the door of room 1203 was full of people, and they squeezed in from the crowd. When I went there, I saw the man who was struggling under the control of the property management, who was probably less than 30 years old. "Comrade police. You're finally here." The property owner who was holding the other person's arm had his eyes glowing at this moment, looking at the unprecedented sense of security for people wearing police uniforms. The 2 property owners caught the man who beat him at the beginning. Other enthusiastic neighbors who came to help controlled the elderly couple. Another aunt was caring about the woman who already had blood marks on her face. The woman's clothes were torn and wrinkled, her face was stained with fresh blood, and her head seemed to have been hit with something, and it was bleeding. "Have you called 120? Such a serious injury." When Guo Ran saw it, he was shocked and quickly asked the people around him. "Comrade police, we have already called 120, but before they come, the bleeding on the head has stopped. It just looks scary." The enthusiastic aunt asked the woman to press the white gauze on her head. The gauze turned blood red, and her eyes lit up when she saw the police comrades. Long Liuyun quickly lowered his head to check the marks on the woman's body. He found that in addition to the scars on his face, there were also marks on the top of his head that seemed to have been hit by something. He carefully pulled away the woman's hand and lifted the gauze to take a look. I felt relieved after making sure the bleeding had stopped. The bleeding has stopped, so he should be fine for the time being, but I'd better send him to the hospital for a checkup later. She couldn't care about anything else. At this time, life safety was the most important thing. Comrade policeman, this is the man. Not only did this man forcefully break into our community, he went upstairs and broke open the door of the householder, and even hit the householder on the head with a thermos cup. Is this considered a home invasion and murder? The young property manager dragged the struggling man while reporting the situation. Forget it, Sieting Joe took out the handcuffs and cuffed the man's hands directly. No matter what the final investigation result was, but now that someone had seen blood, he had to go to the police station. Comrade police. Why do you torture me? This is our family matter. She is my wife, and it is natural for me to beat my wife. What kind of murder is this? Breaking into the house to kill someone? Is it a crime for me to find my wife? This man, Transmigration, was still looking at everyone fiercely at this time, gritting his teeth as if he wanted to write everyone down, but Sieting Joe was indifferent. As long as this is not your house, it's wrong for you to break the door and come in. Moreover, the head of the household has blood stains on his head and needs to go to the hospital for medical examination. It's not up to you to make the decision. Sieting Joe said, and Guo Ran on the side also took out handcuffs and cuffed the man's parents. 3 police officers happened to arrive, and the handcuffs they brought were enough. Transmigration's parents didn't expect that they just followed their son here to prevent their daughter-in-law from getting a divorce, and they casually moved their hands. As a result, they were handcuffed, and they were immediately panicked. Comrade police, why do you just put handcuffs on us without investigating? We will file a complaint against you if you do this. Tian Quilian complained directly. Anyway, he never thought that he would be handcuffed because of his son in his lifetime, and he felt confused and didn't know what to do. Then you go and file a complaint. This is my work number. But you have to remember that now that the victim has seen blood, you are an accomplice. If there is any problem with the victim, your crime is home invasion and homicide, or attempted murder. You think for yourself. Guo Ran was very bold. He looked at the couple in front of him with a sneer. They were obviously quite old, but what they had done was disrespectful. He could still have the dignity to beat his daughter-in-law with his son. This should be done like this. The people cuffed him. As soon as the people here were handcuffed, the first responders from 120 had already gone upstairs and saw the victim Qianyuiyu sitting there through the crowd. Get out of the way, get out of the way, let's send people down. Seeing that Qianyuiyu's face was still covered in blood even though her head was covered with gauze, and even half of her body was stained with blood, the first responders from 120 quickly got the person onto a stretcher and carried her out. After all, she had been hit hard on the head and might be injured in a short time. No problem, but no one can say for sure whether something will happen later. Long Liun went to the hospital with 120 to continue to protect the victim, and asked about the victim's condition. Sieting Joe and Guo Ran were left behind. The two of them filmed the scene, and then cleaned up the thermos cup that Transmigration had used on his wife Qianyuiyu at the scene. This is the murder weapon, and the testimony is also recorded. Fortunately, the people living in this community are warm-hearted aunts and neighbors, so you and I can almost restore the situation at the scene. Qianyuiyu is 28 years old this year, and her husband Transmigration is 30 years old. They have been married for 4 years. Qianyuiyu gave birth to a daughter to Transmigration. However, after getting married, Transmigration kept beating people after drinking, even when Qianyuiyu was born. After giving birth to her daughter, she beat Qianyuiyu during confinement. The 4-year marriage was like hell until her daughter was 3 years old, when Qianyuiyu finally planned to divorce. She asked someone from the Women's Federation to help file a divorce application. Since her daughter was still young and Qianyuiyu's salary and assets were more than her husband's, she could naturally get custody of her daughter. However, Transmigration did not intend to divorce, and Qianyu had no choice. Filed for divorce and moved out. Now there is a divorce cooling off period, which takes 3 months. Qianyu thought that she could get rid of this terrible man after 3 months, but she didn't expect that just 2 months after living here, Transmigration came to the door with his parents. He skipped the property and rushed in, pried open Qianyu's door, and beat Qianyu unilaterally. If the crowd hadn't been so warm-hearted, Qianyu would have been beaten to death on the spot. After the investigation and recording of the confession, Guo Ran became even more disdainful of Transmigration. Only men with no ability would be proud to beat women. Also, when he heard the other party say that Qianyu did not give him a son, it was hard not to. It reminds me that Transmigration is a patriarchal person. Thank you everyone for your cooperation in recording this confession. Our police will investigate this case carefully. We also thank everyone for standing up and helping the victims when encountering such a thing. We are all the most brave and fearless people. Guo Ran warmly thanked everyone who reached out to help. The young man in the property management was a little shy, the enthusiastic aunt was also enthusiastic, and the neighbors around him even waved their hands to express their insignificance. Sometimes, the relationship between people is like this. Even if you are a stranger, you are willing to lend a helping hand when others are suffering. This is true kindness. In the end, under the escort of everyone, Guo Ran and Xietingzhou put Transmigration's family of 3 into a police car, and then sent them to the police station for temporary detention. If there was no blood, maybe this was a matter that required family mediation, and mediation would be done on the spot. It's over, but now that there's blood, it's not so easy to mediate. Along the way, Transmigration's family of 3 threatened to file a complaint, and shouted that it was right for men to beat their wives, who didn't beat their wives in recent years, and that the police should not interfere in their household affairs, etc. However, Guo Ran and Xietingzhou did not listen to the 3 people's cries. They just regarded the 3 people as buzzing flies. After taking them to the police station, they took them to the interrogation room where the criminal suspects were detained. This kind of relatively bad case, there will definitely be proof of the injury at that time. Once the proof of the injury comes out, we will know what to do next. Afternoon, Long Liun came back from the hospital and brought the latest injury report. Qianyu was hit hard on the head. Although it didn't look like much of a problem and the bleeding seemed to have been stopped, it actually resulted in a simple fracture of Qianyu's skull, which can be considered a second-level minor injury. This kind of the injury is almost serious enough to send a person into it. Qianyu suffered a temporal bone fracture and has been hospitalized. The hospital's appraisal result is a minor injury of the 2nd degree. If a fight causes a minor injury of the 2nd degree, it constitutes the crime of intentional injury and will be sentenced to a fixed-term imprisonment of not more than 3 years. It is just a victim. The relationship between the perpetrator and the perpetrator is very likely to come to an understanding. This is also something that many police often do. For example, they will ask for forgiveness in a car accident or a fight. In fact, to put it bluntly, the thing has already happened. If the perpetrator is willing to pay some money to forgive, then the victim will also forgive. Some medical treatment and compensation can be obtained. Otherwise, if the perpetrator goes to jail, the compensation will not be enough for the victim to receive treatment. This is also a very cruel statement, especially when domestic violence between husband and wife results in disability. In many cases, they are reconciled. Reconciliation just like this, Guo Ran was shocked and didn't understand the reason for reconciliation under such circumstances. Long Liun was also helpless. Qianyu was still resting when I came back. I'm going to have a look and make some inquiries later. It's Qianyu's business whether or not to file a complaint. There's only so much our police can do. Speaking of which, Long Liun added. When Qianyu was 20 years old, her parents died in a car accident. She had a bad relationship with her relatives. Later, she got married and came to Tianzhiban's house alone. I guess this is also the reason why Tianzhiban dared to attack her. As for the reason for the attack, I understood during the examination at the hospital that Tianzhiban knew that Jianyuiyu's parents had left her a house before marriage. Tianzhiban forced Jianyuiyu to sell the house for him to start a business. Jianyuiyu was beaten when she disagreed. They went there this time. In addition to renting Jianyuiyu's rental house, he also wanted to steal Jianyuiyu's real estate certificate. That's why Long Liun was not sure whether Jianyuiyu would eventually sue her husband. The relationship between husband and wife was what Long Liun didn't understand the most. When Guo Ran heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. If they were going to snatch the real estate certificate, wouldn't it be a home invasion and robbery? In addition, if Jianyuiyu wanted to sue Jianyuiyu, they would not have escaped during the home invasion, robbery or attempted murder. In addition to being the wife of that beast, she is still a normal human being who needs legal protection. As a normal citizen, why can't she take up legal weapons to protect herself? Why must they reconcile? They were given a marriage certificate instead of a marriage certificate for this man. Zhang's death-free gold medal.